Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, here on the Hump Day edition of the Yard. Another day closer to the return of college football to Davis-Wade Stadium. It feels like it's been forever. It's been nearly a month since we've played a home game. So we'll be there for 3 straight weeks. Hope you guys can come out and be a part of it. Hope you come all 3 weeks. But this weekend, a big one obviously is Texas A&M comes to town. Also happy to report that the warehouse will be stocked tomorrow with the long-awaited copies of The Dude, The Life and Times of Dudy Noble, the biography of Dudy Noble that I wrote. This whole process has taken about 11 months. That's from deciding to do the book and doing some due diligence, beginning the research, writing the book, editing the book, and seeing the book go off to print. And so many of you bought the limited edition, which is going to be super cool. Really excited about that. Those are being delivered too. That's one of the reasons we had a little bit of a delay. They were going to send us the regular stock and then send us the limited edition. But we said, no, if you're going to pay more and get a limited edition, you should get it when everybody else gets their books. So everything, limited edition, regular stock, all going to be delivered to the warehouse on Thursday. And I will sign those books on Thursday, and then they will begin shipping them out to you on Friday. Now, the first stop on the Dude Book Tour will be this Saturday, 9:30 to 1 p.m. at Bookmart and Cafe in downtown Starkville. That's, of course, prior to our game with Texas A&M. So come by, say hello. All of my titles are there, all 7 of them are at Bookmart and Cafe. And so if you have not had the opportunity to complete your collection, you can do so when you pick up a copy of The Dude. Again, all 7 titles available at Bookmart and Cafe. One of the only places that has all 7 titles. We're pretty much out of stock now of Stark Villains and Alpha Dogs. If you don't have those, you need to get those soon. We are kind of kicking around the idea of doing those as an ebook later this year, maybe early next year. So we'll see how things go with that. And then we'll find out what's next. I mean, I talked about doing like a 3rd installment of the Stark Villains, Alpha Dogs type books, but we'll see. We've got some other people that have contacted me after doing the biography of Dudy Noble. They would like for me to do some other things. So we'll see. We've got to sit down and make some decisions about that. Ultimately, decision is mine and that of my publisher. But the reality of it is there's not a shortage of things to write about. So we'll probably have a book for you again next year. It just kind of depends, how things go. But for now, I'm going to enjoy the fruits of my own labor and enjoy the book tour and the reviews and all the stuff that goes along with the book being released. So long-awaited release of The Dude this weekend. And it worked out good for us too with the 3 straight home games. So we'll do game day signings every weekend this next 3 weeks. Okay, so you'll have plenty of opportunities to come out and see me and get your book signed. Christmas will be here before you know it. We're just under 2 months away, or just over 2 months away from Christmas. So it's never too early to think about that aspect of it. And wouldn't it be great to get a copy of The Dude? What's interesting, too, a lot of people think, hey, I need to go ahead and make sure they hadn't bought this because I want to get it for them for Christmas. And so we can get it personalized. You come to the book signing. And if you can't make it to a book signing, visit dutynoblebook.com, and you can order online there as the heater comes on. It's interesting. You get up this morning and have to turn the heater on. People talk about, how the federal government can manipulate the weather. I have a request for those of you that are in government. If you can literally manipulate the weather, can we have fall in Mississippi? Is that too much to ask? Like, we have Hades for 4 months, and then we have like 15 minutes of fall weather, and then it's winter. Can we go back to kind of how it was in the 70s and 80s where we had like the elongated autumn? Is that okay? I love autumn. And maybe it's because I can't get it very often, but can we do that? Can you guys manipulate the weather and give us something besides, we go right from shorts to leather jacket weather. And listen, I kind of wear a leather jacket as a fashion statement anyway, but It'd be nice to maybe just have like long sleeve weather for a while. You know what I'm saying? I know you agree with me. It's interesting. It's interesting to me how basically we have 2.5 seasons in Mississippi now. And it's so interesting how that works, right? So interesting. But anyway, I'm excited about the weekend. I can tell you I've put so much into this book. I get a little emotional thinking about it, because you want to do meaningful things with your life. I do. And I trust that you do too. And being a writer, being a content creator, a real content creator, and not somebody that just steals other people's videos on TikTok and then passes them off as my own. That's not content creation. That's essentially plagiarism. But as somebody that actually sits down and researches and writes real books, I'm excited about this one. They're all my babies, but I can tell you of all the books that I've written, this is the one I'm most proud of. And you would think 7 books into this thing, maybe I'm getting better. I certainly think so. But it'll be interesting to go back when we do those new edits of Villains and Alpha Dogs to see maybe what I would change. We'll go back and do some fact finding and that kind of stuff. We'll go back and just make sure. You never know. We do a fresh edit of those books too, and so we'll see. A lot of people keep asking me about Audible. It's just kind of finding the time to do it. I've got the equipment. I think I've got the voice, and certainly I have the insight to do it. But it's a process. And probably after I did the first one, I would feel okay to do the rest of them. So I can't rule that out. But we'll probably do those in order. If we do those on Audible, we'll start with Flim Flam, and then we'll go from there. And there'll be some author content and bonus content. We'll make it worth your while. I know a lot of you listen to books on tape as you travel. I'm a person that enjoys the Dateline NBC podcast. I don't listen to a lot of sports podcasts, right? And part of that, too, is because I don't want to color my own opinion with the information of other people, because I never know the veracity of that information. A lot of people out there with the hot take. They don't have a lot of hot info. But that's where we stand. So, again, this Saturday, 9:30 to 1 downtown, and it will be busy. It always is. I remember our first book signing at Book Martin Cafe on game day. We sold 248 books. So it will be a busy day. There may be some lines, but I encourage you to come out for those of you that haven't already ordered. And we have had a tremendous response on pre-orders. So I know many of you are eager to get those books. You're just days away now from having it. And I can't wait to hold this book in my hands. I love the cover. I love the work. I love the idea. I still think it's the greatest gift that I could ever give the Mississippi State family. And it's been my honor to get to know the Noble family, the Nobles. Great, great people. And one of the questions that I had is, why are we not just inundated with Nobles? Why don't we have like Duty Noble's, great nephews or whatever, throwing out first pitches all the time, that sort of stuff. It's just not a lot of them. Not a lot of them. It's interesting. Will Noble, Duty's dad, married a young lady and had some children. And then eventually, after she passed away, he married her sister. And so there was something on that side of the family that the sons born to those two ladies did not produce children. Now, when he married Ida Paquette, a French lady, she ended up giving him some sons that did bear heirs. But it's interesting, when you begin to look at the genealogy and the family tree of Duty Noble, that Duty and Elizabeth did not have any children. And most of his brothers, born of those first two wives of Will Noble, did not produce sons that produced children of their own. Very interesting. It is. But having a chance to kind of get to know this family a little bit better has been one of the greatest joys of my life. I remember the very first time that I drove to Batesville, Mississippi, and I sat down with Mitzi Banks Steele and Francis Ami, and I didn't even know what we were going to do. They had some family history, and they answered some questions for me, and they had some stories. And then the next thing you know, I'm on the way to Learned, Mississippi, and doing some research down there, and went by and paid my respects to Will Noble. And his wives. He's surrounded by 3 of his wives at the cemetery. Yeah. So I say all that because I have put my best effort into this. And many of you have enjoyed the books that I've had before. And I'll just tell you, if you've enjoyed anything that I've written, I think you'll enjoy this even more. Let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of this show. I had Bulldog Burger Company for lunch yesterday. Didn't get a burger, though. I talked about getting the smokehouse again. I didn't. The bride wasn't very hungry, and she goes, I think I'm going to get wings. And she goes, and we'll get spring rolls and we'll share them. And I'm like, well, how many wings are you getting? Well, I'm getting 6. Well, why don't we get 12? And then we both can have 6 wings apiece and then 2 spring rolls apiece. She did not eat all of her wings. I did leave those for her to have for lunch today. But very filling. Those wings are very tasty, too. And pretty robust for wings. It's one of those things that, some places you go and you order wings, and it's like they give you feathers, just kind of, breaded feathers and pass them off as wings. But I love Bulldog Burger Company. I have for a long time, long before they're even a sponsor of the show. It's been an amazing partnership. I love going in there. I love the fact that I can have a great meal with great service at a great price, and there's pricing integrity at Bulldog Burger Company. So many other people post-COVID continuing to charge you rather unscrupulously, I might add, this convenience charge. And I asked the server one time at another competing restaurant, and I said, hey, what is this charge? Well, we didn't want to raise our prices, so we're just going to charge you a convenience charge. Well, it's the same thing, right? With Bulldog Burger Company, you're getting pre-COVID portions at pre-COVID pricing. How about that? Integrity in pricing, you have to love that. Of course, sometimes there are some adjustments that are made as supplies sometimes are a little more pricey than they are from time to time. But I love going in there because I like doing business with people that are of integrity. Not to mention the fact, too, it's not even quite that deep. I know that I can go in there and get a great meal. Put your feet under their table. Let them take care of everything else. Bulldog Burger Company, an institution in this state. 3 great locations to serve you. University Drive in Stark Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Rich and Flowood area. You never know what Bulldog Burger Company is going to do next. You never know what new items may come up, or you know what, down the road, maybe some new locations. Wouldn't that be great? Be amazing. Bulldog Burger Company came to your town, right? But for now, you got to come to ours. And maybe when you're on the way to Starkville and you think, hey, I know how busy it's going to be at the university. I'm going to leave early. And I may stop there at those other 2 locations, one of those 2, and enjoy Bulldog Burger Company. And you can ride that ride to Starkville with a smile, get that chocolate shake to help you eat up those last few miles as you head to game day at Davis Wade Stadium. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet, M-E-A-T. All right, folks, let's take a quick look at Texas A&M. At the beginning of the year, I told you guys I wasn't sure what to make of this team, and I'm still not. Still not quite sure what to make of Texas A&M. Now, they did not disappoint me. When we go back and look at the schedule here, I expected them to lose to Notre Dame at home. They did. Expected them to beat McNeese State. They did. Expected them to go to Florida and win. They did. Expected them to beat Bowling Green. Guess what? They did. Thought they'd beat Arkansas too. They did. And then, of course, the Missouri game. I picked A&M to win that game, but they absolutely destroyed them 41-10. And I think that says more about Missouri than it does Texas A&M, to be fair. When we talk about how salty they've been on defense, and they have been. But when you begin to look at this again, they lose by 10 to Notre Dame. They played McNeese, and they played a Florida offense that's had some challenges. And now you kind of wonder what's going on with the Graham Mertz injury. Bowling Green, and then Arkansas. Holding Arkansas to 17 is probably the greatest accomplishment of this defense. But you could also make a case, too, for Missouri. But I think, again, Missouri was a little bit overpriced, shall we say, by many of us. I think all of us thought, Missouri will be a good team this year, probably not a threat for a playoff spot. And that's kind of where we are. So we've picked them the whole way through correctly, at least picking winners. So let's dig a little bit deeper into the Aggies here. Mike Elko and his guys doing a good job. Really have done a good job so far. So let's look at our kind of inside the numbers here, as we like to go. You know, we've had great success against the Aggies, and we'll talk about the series history here in a few minutes, but they're scoring 31 points a game and giving up just under 17. So about a plus 14 differential there in scoring. But again, some of that is kind of colored by the fact that they had some non-conference wins where they put up some points, especially that McNeese State game. That kind of skews the numbers a little bit in their favor, but they've run the football really well. And that's a concern for us because we've had difficulty stopping the run. 69 nice first downs on the ground for Texas A&M. They've allowed 40. Through the air, they've got 50 first downs. They've allowed 52. And this is an A&M pass defense that's kind of middle of the pack in our league. They've committed 12 infractions that have led to first downs for their opponents, while the opponents have only gifted them 10. So a total of 131 first downs. We've allowed 102. So people are kind of moving the ball between the 20s, but scoring defense has been a real strong point for Texas A&M. All right, looking at the rushing numbers here. They've run for just under 1,400 yards, 1,394. And some of that, too, is Marcel Reed, of course, a run-first quarterback. He can chunk it a little bit, too, but he is a real threat on the ground. But Connor Wegman is back. Played last week. Played 2 weeks ago. But they're expecting him to start the game this week. He met with the media earlier this week. They have allowed just 687 yards rushing. Now, one of the things that you can say is, well, Steve, they played McNeese and Bowling Green. Arkansas has been really good running the football this year. They did a really good job kind of controlling that Arkansas running game. So I think our ability to run the football is going to be somewhat negated by their ability to stop the run. We're going to have to throw the football to win this football game. Look at the passing numbers. A&M quarterbacks are combined 84 of 154 for a couple of picks. Not great numbers, but not bad numbers, right? It's true. They've thrown 8 touchdowns, but just 1,086 yards. I mean, fairly balanced, but again, they really want to run the football, but some of that too. I expect them to be a lot more balanced and maybe even a little more pass happy with Wegman back and somewhat healthy. On the other side of the coin, opponents are outpassing A&M by over 100 yards, 1,221 yards. And again, some of that's because the teams that they have played have been chasing the game. They've gotten behind and had to throw the football a little bit more. But again, giving up just over 200 yards, 203.5 yards per game, passing yards allowed. Opponents are 103 of 189, but they have thrown 7 interceptions. It's a big number. It's a big number. Ball security's got to be a big part of things for us. Offensively, they've run 393 plays. Their opponents 369. And their opponents are averaging 5.2 yards a play. But A&M outgaining their opponents by nearly 100 yards a game in total offense. 413 for the Aggies, 318 for their opponents. And again, you throw in McNeese State and Bowling Green, but you've got a pretty good barometer. This defense from A&M is pretty good. 2,480 yards of offense for A&M, 1,908 against. They've allowed 11 touchdowns. They've scored 22. Again, scoring defense has been a real strength for this team. The return game has been decent in some respects, and maybe decent's being nice. But kick return defense, not so much. And the opponents are averaging right at 25 yards a return. Now, we thought we had an opportunity last week against Georgia because of the fact about 50% of their kicks don't make the end zone, but we elected to fair catch those. And clearly that's something that we're coaching, and I don't know what it is that we're seeing, but that's something that appears to be part of our game plan is that, hey, we're just going to fair catch it and not bring a return back. We'll just take it at the 25. And maybe that's the way to go. But it kind of negates the whole thing here when you have a team like A&M that has not been great in kick return coverage. And so maybe we'll give it a shot this week, maybe. Averaging just under 44 yards a punt. And that averaged 39.70. So there is a little bit of a, maybe an opportunity for Kevin Coleman here. And he told us on Tuesday, he's kind of getting sick and tired of fair catching the football. He goes, if I get a little room, I'm going to try to go make a play for this team. We want him to return to football, wanting to make good decisions with it as well. They are 11 of 13 on field goal attempts. Their opponents just 8 of 9. Penalties, they're committing them at a higher frequency than their opponents. 64.17 yards per game. Their opponents just under 59. So it's kind of, 6 one way, half a dozen the other. But 45 penalties for Texas A&M this year. 42 for their opponents. Time of possession is pretty much negligible. Almost 32 minutes for A&M and just right at 28 for their opponents. Third down conversions have been pretty good. 31 of 74 for right at 42%. Fourth down conversions, 5 of 8 for Florida. And on the other side of the coin, they've been really good on third down defense, just 24 of 78, just under 31%. And then 9 of 15 on fourth down. Turn away 6 fourth down plays. And again, when teams are chasing the game, they're going to be a lot more likely to go for it. A&M has fumbled the football just one time this year. They lose that fumble. But, they've had just the one fumble. So, again, we talked last week about to give ourselves a chance against Georgia, we got to win the turnover battle. We did. We got to win it this week, too, but it may be a little more difficult to do with their propensity to pick passes off and to protect the football. Their opponents have fumbled the football 6 times and lost it just twice. 14 sacks for A&M, 7 for their opponents. They've been perfect on PATs, everybody across the board there. And the red zone, A&M has been very, very efficient, 21 of 22 in the red zone, and 15 of those 21 scores have been of the 6-point variety. They're not having to settle for field goals, and that would be a win for us, right? Start making them have to kick field goals rather than score touchdowns. Now, teams, again, moving the ball well between the 20s, but they've only entered the red zone 12 times. In 6 games, they're averaging just 2 defensive trips inside their own red zone. That's kind of a key to winning, right? But once you get down there, you have an opportunity to score. However, 10 of those 12 trips have ended in points, only 5 of them in touchdowns. So as things get compressed, A&M has been really good. So it's one of those situations we're probably going to have to score from far, right? All right, Le'Veon Moss is a name to Bulldog fans. If you know me, you know I like a free meal. I like a promo code. I like a great deal. I like to save money whenever I can. But here's the thing. I'm not going to go parade over a bed of hot coals with a pair of gasoline-soaked boxer shorts on to get a deal. It's got to be easy for me, right? And so when Mint Mobile said, hey, we'd love to partner with you guys and give wireless service for just $15 a month, I said, there's no way that's going to work, right? You got to purchase a 3-month plan. I said, you know what? It didn't make any sense to me. It turns out it's really that easy to get wireless service for $15 a month. The longest part of the process is probably going to be the time you spend on hold canceling your other provider. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/boneyard. There you'll see that right now, all 3-month plans are just $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. How cool is that? Again, new customer offer. Your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month. Go to mintmobile.com/boneyard. That's mintmobile.com/boneyard. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/boneyard. There's a $45 upfront payment required. That's equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on the first 3-month plan only. Speeds are slower than above 40 gigabytes on the unlimited plan, and additional taxes, fees, and restrictions may apply. For more information, visit mintmobile.com/boneyard. Hey, Bulldog fans, are you fantasy enthusiasts? A lot of people are. I remember those days when we used to do it all by hand and have to wait to the next day to read the box scores to find out who won. Well, Prize Picks does all that work for you. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. That's right. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and just watch your winnings roll in. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Just 4, right? And Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as just 15 minutes. How cool is that? You can have fun. It's a very simple way to play. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code BONEYARD, and you get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's promo code BONEYARD on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you just play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your own game. How cool is that? Be sure to use the promo code BONEYARD when you download the Prize Picks app. We know, guy's been in the league for a little while now. 609 yards rushing, averaging 101.5 a game. He is going to carry the football a lot against us, provided that he stays healthy. But he has become the bell cow of that offense in many respects. Amani Daniels kind of playing Robin Tomas's Batman, just 245 yards. Now, we talked about Marcel Reed a little bit. He's played in 5 games this year, and there will be a package for him too. You know, especially like on 3rd and 4th and short, they're going to bring him in. And why wouldn't you? He's a 3rd leading rusher on the team. 43 carries this year for 226 yards. And you got to think some of those 2 are with him playing quarterback, so not necessarily designed runs. But about 45 yards a game. Connor Wegman, in the 3 games that he's played, has run the football 16 times and for a net of 98 yards. Now, I think with him coming off an injury, and it's reported to have been a shoulder injury, I don't think they're going to run him a lot. There may be some time with the competitive juices take over and, maybe you get outside the pocket, you get flushed, you got to take off and go. I think he'll kind of run as an opportunist. I don't think they're going to have a lot of designed quarterback runs for him. But, again, Le'Veon Moss, really, really good player. Looking passing numbers here, too. And, again, Marcel Reed is a guy that is a very talented guy. He's just one of those guys, too, that has a tremendous amount of running ability. He's played in 5 games. He's 43 of 79. And, again, run-first guy. But he hadn't thrown any interceptions. Now, completion ratio, not great. 54%. 6 touchdowns. Connor Wegman, the 3 games he's played, 41 of 66. So you can just see by those numbers, they're a little more likely to throw the football with him under center than with Marcel Reed. And again, you play to your strengths. Connor Wegman's just more of a pocket passer in many respects. And Reed adds a different dimension to things. Again, so there's some opportunities that we may see both. Wegman with a pair of picks and just a pair of touchdowns. But 62% completion percentage, 501 yards. So the play calling is probably going to be a lot more pass happy, maybe not air raid-ish, but they're going to run the football, but they want to throw the football too. Leading receiver on the team is Noah Thomas with 19 catches, and that would not even be close to the team lead at Mississippi State. 252 yards through the air, just a couple touchdowns. Leads them in all statistical categories for receivers. Cyrus Allen, another guy, the name that we should know, just a dozen catches. And so they've only had four players on the team catch the football 10 or more times, and nobody's caught it 20. And so, again, you kind of wonder, is that a product of the fact that with Wegman out, they wanted to run the football more? I would suggest it probably is. That this A&M team has some talent. I don't think they have a wide receiver room that just kind of scares you to death. I think they wanted to kind of sit up and play ball control offense and just not turn the football over and kind of methodically go down the field. The big play, it's been somewhat elusive for them. Torian York, linebacker, met with the media earlier this week. He currently leads the team in tackles with 28 on the year. 9 of those, the solo variety, 19 others, he is an assist there. 1.5 TFLs, including a sack, has a 1 pass breakup, a couple quarterback hurries. He is a guy they like to move around a little bit. Now, Will Lee, very interesting stat line for Will Lee. And some of that is going to be because of the fact of the position that he plays. Veteran guy to St. Louis, Missouri, transferred in from Kansas State, a junior safety. And so he's tackling a little more in space, but you look at these numbers for him, it's 20 tackles. 20 tackles, and only 2 of them are assists. So this is a guy that's being able to tackle in space. Marcus Ratcliffe Also has 20 tackles. He's been pretty good for them too. A couple of sacks for him. Also 3 interceptions, which leads the team. But they're very active on defense. They move guys around. Of course, Elko is a guy that was former DC, Texas A&M. So he kind of understands, kind of what it takes to kind of make things happen here. And, we'll see how things go with them. But I really think this is going to be about us. Marcus Ratliff, I got to transferred in from San Diego State. And so they've done a good job kind of, finding some difference makers in the portal. But, when you begin to look at these numbers here, Nick Scorton, 4.5 sacks for them. Maybe you're familiar with him. If you watch a lot of Southeastern Conference football, you should know him. Interior defensive lineman that can fit gaps for sure. Had a good ball game against us last year. And I think that's one of the things, too, you begin to think about. If you're Mississippi State, you should be able to just kind of figure this thing out to get guys up. Number one, you're home, but you're playing against a team, too, that really embarrassed you last year. And a lot of that's on the coaching staff. That's the truth. We were not prepared to go play that ball game, and Reed killed us because we prepared for Max Johnson, even though we were told that Max Johnson wasn't going to play. But again, we knew more than what other people did, and it cost us. It was an embarrassing spectacle in College Station, Texas. I couldn't wait to get home. But Scorton, 10 TFLs. It's a guy that's a difference maker. He's a game wrecker. And so we're going to have to be very, very, very good up the middle. We have to make sure that we're on top of our game in every aspect. We mentioned Tyler White's punting numbers earlier. He's only had to punt 19 times. He has a long of 62. 11 of those have been fair caught, a dozen inside the 20, but 6 of those have been 50-plus. Now, here's what I think about that. Do they alter what they do to kind of limit or neutralize Kevin Coleman? Do you let Tyler White get out there and just kick it as far as he can? I think if he does, I think that may actually open up an opportunity for Kevin Coleman to make plays for us. How they've kind of stymied him in recent weeks is just the shorter kick, the shorter, higher coverage kick. Like, hey, we don't mind kicking at 35, 40 yards because we don't think Mississippi State can methodically work the ball down the field. So we don't mind giving up a few yards. We don't want to give up the big punt return. And so I think that's something to watch, kind of the game within the game. What do they do on punts? Hopefully we can force them to punt a lot and give Kevin Coleman an opportunity to shorten the field for us, because I think you do what you do. I don't think they're going to tell Tyler White, hey, listen, I know you've got 6 over 50. Let's kind of keep it at 40. I don't know that you can really do that consistently. And so you may have an opportunity there in the return game. Field goals, Randy Bond, it feels like he should be a doctor by now. 11 of 13 on the year. Under 40 yards, he is a perfect 6 of 6. He has missed a couple from 40 to 49, along on the year of 49. So that's interesting. We talk about the kickoff thing too. Jared Zirkle, 36 kicks this year. 24 of them have been touchbacks, but also 2 have been out of bounds. So you've had about a dozen of those that have been returnable. Randy Bond has kicked off a little bit too. But, special teams, I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people anticipate. And you can see after these last couple of weeks where we've had these, 35-point spreads that we've covered, and now all of a sudden you play an A&M. I think a lot of it's just kind of questions about this offense. Is Georgia's offense better than A&M's? I would say yes. Is Texas better than A&M? I would say yes. And so if we can make some plays offensively, I think this is a game that could be very, very, very competitive. Now, looking at the series history here, maybe you're somewhat familiar with this. Mississippi State holds a 9-8 lead all time against Texas A&M. The series actually began way back in 1912. We went to Houston, Texas, and played them, and Dudy Noble was on that team. How about that? Yeah, Dudy Noble was on that team. We lose 41-7. Now, we play them in Dallas the next year at the, I think it was the Rose Festival up there. We win that game 6-0. And then in Dallas, we play Texas A&M. and we win 7-0. Duty Noble's senior year. And Duty Noble was a hero in that ball game. So we got a pretty good start with them. We don't play them again until 1937 in Tower, Texas. They get us 14-0. And then, guys, we didn't play A&M again until the Snow Bowl. 63 years between meetings. And, of course, you remember that game well. Julius Griffith's shining moment, returning that 2-point conversion on the blocked extra point. Dante Walker became the first running back in Independence Bowl history to run for 3 touchdowns. It is falsely accredited to Jamar Toombs of A&M. Dante Walker did it first in the same game. 2012, they joined the league, and you remember that's the We Believe year. We felt pretty good, and then Johnny Manziel comes in here, and we'd never really seen anything like it. That game was over at the half. 2013, Dak Prescott goes out there and has an incredible game. It was Johnny Manziel's final game at College Station. If we could make a couple of tackles on special teams, we may win that game. We lose 51-41. And Dak Prescott gets injured in that game. We don't see him again until the fourth quarter of the Egg Bowl. 2014, Dak beats these guys. You remember Kenny Trill? Remember all that? Everybody was so excited. Going to be winning a Heisman. And Kenny may be a great guy, but he's probably selling insurance somewhere now. 2015, we go to College Station. We lose 30-17. And that was one of those games, too. We really felt like we wanted it back. We had a couple of big fumbles in that game. Eris Williams about to score, fumbles. We come out in the second half. We hit Bear Wilson, God rest his soul. And Bear fumbles in plus territory. We get down 14-0 and we start battling back, but we had a couple of really big turnovers that essentially cost us the game. When 2016, we won against A&M 35-28. Pretty crazy game. And in 17, we go to College Station. Nick Fitzgerald and Jamal Peters with the big pick six late in that ball game to kind of add a little bit of a cherry on top of a 35-14 win. I remember how well we played defensively in that game. Kellen Mond just absolutely couldn't do anything. 2018, they come in here, and Errol Thompson's big interception of Mond in the end zone kind of proved to be the difference. And that's the Joe Moorhead year one, and tells Nick Fitzgerald right before a play call, house it, and then he does, and he puts that game away. Very dramatic turn in that ball game. 2019, one of the worst games that we played in the Joe Moorhead era. We were absolutely unprepared to play them defensively, and they beat us 49-30. In 2020, the abbreviated year, Kellen Mond is a senior, a year that the Aggies felt they should have made the playoffs. They came in here. Remember, Emmanuel Forbes had the big pick six there on a tip ball, and we just simply couldn't get anything going offensively. In 21, we get them 26-22. Down in College Station, Texas. That was a lot of fun. Remember that? Of course you do. We're riders and the guys going down there, and it just kind of felt like the ground was going to open up and swallow us whole, and we ended up getting a safety late to kind of put that thing away. In 2022, A&M comes in here, 42-24. That's the big Emmanuel Forbes field goal block game that DeCamerion Richardson picks up and returns for a touchdown. Incredible. And then, of course, last year's debacle, 51-10 in that ball game. And I'm going to be honest with you, and I know I've harped on this, and maybe I'll move on from this after this next week, but this A&M stuff from last year still bothers me. Guys, I'm going to tell you this. I could have called the defense with no practice and probably kept this thing within 40 points. It's ridiculous, man. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, that you talk about we need to make a change, that in and of itself, the refusal to accept information about the reality of the A&M quarterback situation, and then to watch us lose because we were unprepared for Marcel Reed, because, again, we thought we knew better. And there's always some of that in life. But we got absolutely embarrassed by a third-team quarterback down at College Station last year. And people forget, Xavier Thomas returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. We're up 7-0. All right, here we go. Let's go. Guys, we got outscored 51-3 the rest of the game. It's a disaster. So A&M coming in hoping to even up the series at 9-9, but they have not done well in Starkville over the years. And again, that win in 2020 a rarity for them when they come to Starkville. Bulldogs have kind of held their own in this series, unbeknownst to many people in the Southeastern Conference football media. But we'll talk about the game more on Friday, but I'm certainly going to pick State to cover in this game. And I won't be surprised if we win. I won't be surprised if we lose. I think this could be a very entertaining game. That's one of the reasons we need you to be here. Not to mention, we are honoring the 2014 team. I'm happy to say that I got a message this morning from P.J. Jones' sister, Phoenicia. She's going to be here with her mother. And they're also in contact with Bear Wilson's family. Gary Green making those calls, doing a great job for your Bulldogs. And going to be a huge reunion. Dan Mullen, many of the staff members that are available are going to be coming in. And we're going to honor one of our top teams of all time this weekend. And we encourage you to come out. It should be a special moment. And again, I think it's going to be a good ball game. And it's one of those things, too, you start thinking about, we never win at certain places. It kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy after a while because you start buying into that. It's like, it's a tough place to go up there and play. We rarely win up there. It's almost like you're laying the groundwork for an excuse. So Mike Elko has kind of mentioned that to them, that their record in Starkville is 2-4. So they're, getting them focused. So they're looking at that 1-5 record thinking, hey, we can just kind of show up and get this thing done. No. And I think Mississippi State is an ascending football team right now. I get it. We're 1-5. Don't get me wrong. But if you can't see the progress that we have made on the field the last 2 weeks, you're just not wanting to see it. And so now we have a chance to come home and win some ball games. And what would be better than winning this weekend? Jeff Levy could need a signature win. And we got to do some things on a recruiting trail, too. You got to show some progress on the field to get people to buy in. Because, right now you're offering a promise. You need to show some production. And, again, you can argue that, hey, we've been better with Mike the last couple of weeks. But you got to win the games. It doesn't matter how much you're improving if you don't get the W in the eyes of recruits. So we need to find a way to go get some dubs. But I do expect this to be a very competitive ball game. State's got to survive the first quarter. You can't get out and start chasing the game. We talked about it last week. State takes a 3-0 lead against Georgia. It's the first lead they've had against, a Power 4 opponent all year. If you can find a way to get up early, get the crowd engaged, and students, we need you. We do. We need you to be here and be rocking. I think this is a ball game that State's going to be very, very competitive in. And then you never know what's going to happen. But we probably need it to be a lower scoring game just because the A&M defense is good. And anybody that suggests otherwise really hadn't paid attention. But I do think that our wide receivers can run with anybody in the country. And so if we can protect and maybe you move the pocket a little bit, maybe Jeff Levy's didn't need our advice when it comes to kind of formulating a game plan. If we can go out and execute, I think what Jeff's vision is, I think come Saturday we could have a lot to cheer about. All right, time for today's Top 10 list, as always, brought to you by closewithblair.com. That's CLOSE with Blair, BLAIR.com. Blair is my friend, your friend, our collective friend in the mortgage industry. Let me give you his phone number right now, 601-500-2344. Again, 601-500-2344. A lot of people out there competing for your mortgage business. Listen, make an adult decision here. And deal with somebody who's been doing this for over 20 years. That's Blair Chandler. A lot of people get in the industry. It's not really for them. Blair knows the ins and outs of everything when it comes to constructing loans that are more likely to get approved by underwriting. It's that simple. Deal with a mortgage professional, not just a mortgage loan originator. And that's Blair Chandler. Visit him on the website. Call him directly. That's not a number that goes to a call center or receptionist. It goes directly to Blair himself. And you can speak and text with him. He's one of us, too. He's a Bulldog. He's a season ticket holder in multiple sports. Has a place here in town. Spends a lot of time in Starkville. He's a guy that's going to do a great job for you. Right? You don't always need the resume, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. 23 years of experience. Top 1% close ratio in the country back-to-back-to-back years. Recently made the move to Priority One Mortgage. The same level of service followed him there. So whether you're looking for a game day condo, your first home, or your new home, Blair Chandler is the way to go. That's closewithblair.com. Okay, you may have heard the news. I shared it yesterday, too. I think Eddie Trunk was the first to break it. Famed guitarist Jakey Lee out walking his dog in Las Vegas, Nevada yesterday, and it appears that Jake was the victim of a random act of violence and shot 3 times. He is expected to make a full recovery. The most serious of the wounds went to the right side of his chest and punctured a lung there. And so they'll have to deal with all that. Jake is still in the hospital. No arrests have been made at this time. It is an ongoing investigation. But Jake is expected to recover. Now, Jake, of course, rose to prominence as a member of Ozzy Osbourne's band. And I contend to you, those are the peak Ozzy years. And so I thought, hey, you know what? We do these lists whenever somebody dies. Then maybe let's celebrate the music of Jake because he lived. Now, Jake originally was born in Norfolk, Virginia, and the son of a Navy officer, born in Norfolk, then raised in San Diego, and he kind of rose to prominence out in San Diego and put together a band called Teaser. You may remember Tommy Bolin, of course, and so that kind of a tribute to Tommy was the name of the band. He ultimately left his own band, Teaser, and joined an outfit that you may be familiar with named Mickey Rat. And of course, the Disney company had a problem with the name Mickey Rat. The lawyers got involved and they shortened the name to Rat. And from there, Jake and many of the guys left Rat and formed a band called Rough Cut. They had some success. Now, Rough Cut, maybe not as commercially successful as many of their peers. I think a lot of it's because they couldn't keep a lineup together. You never know what that's really about, but they were very talented musicians. It kind of kept getting plucked away by other artists. And that's what happened with Jakey Lee. Jakey Lee auditioned to be in Dio, and Ronnie James Dio hired him. And in the middle of all that, just as things are kind of getting going, Dana Strum of Slaughter and of Vinnie Vincent Invasion and the Vince Neil solo band encouraged him to audition for Ozzy. And Jake felt like, I don't know if I can replace Randy Rhoads. Well, he does audition for Ozzy, and he gets the gig. And then after he left Ozzy, of course, he formed a great band that I absolutely love, and it's so difficult to get their material online, Badlands. First 2 albums were absolute bangers. I like the second one even more, an album called Voodoo Highway. They did a great cover of James Taylor's Fire and Rain. Ray Gilvan, the singer of Badlands, also was part of a lot of different bands, Dio Disciples and others, and he later was accused of knowingly infecting some females with the HIV virus. He himself died of that affliction, and that's one of the reasons they have not allowed this music to be licensed again, just because of the fact that it's out of respect for the victims. Now, one could make an argument, too, that perhaps what they could do is allow the music to be licensed and then all of the royalties that went to Ray Gillan would go to the families of those victims. But it's not my call. Jake emerged from obscurity. He was very reclusive for a while, and he admitted to everybody and his fans on that metal show that he drank a lot. He became a bit of an alcoholic after all those things happened. And you get it. You understand why somebody would be depressed. I mean, it's been your life's work, and you put a great band together and find out that someone that you are aligned with is doing some things that are absolutely terrible. In time, Jake put a band together called Red Dragon Cartel. They've done some cool things. He's done some work within this moment, and I thought, you know what, hey, we'll do 10 songs today that Jake was a part of. So we'll start with a song off of the Badlands album, Dusk. You can find that online in some outlets, which is interesting to me. We can't get the self-titled album or Voodoo Highway. I own both on CD. But the lead single off that album was a very bluesy type operation called Healer. Healer. I think you'll dig that one. And if you can find those CDs, if you still have the ability to play them, or perhaps you like to download music off YouTube, you can find the Badlands stuff. And, that's first album, with Winter's Call and Dreams in the Dark and High Wire. I mean, that High Wire album single, the opening riff, will absolutely put some hair on your chest. All right, number 9, going back to the Rat days. There are a few things out there. There were some old demos that Stephen Piercy released years ago. You know, the pre-Rat days, the Mickey Rat garage days. So this is a demo version. It hasn't been, maybe processed or mastered like everything else. But he played on a great track called Top Secret from Mickey Rat. I think you'll dig that one. It's very raw. Number 8. Had the opportunity to meet Chip Zanoff at Howlin' Mouse here a while back when they played with Lily Nax. And Jake did a great song called Dissonance with Enough's Enough. That's the lead song, the title track of the Dissonance album. Enough's Enough has put together a huge catalog. Everybody knows them from Fly High Michelle and Get High on a New Thing. But they have continued to tour the country and make a living playing music despite the fact they hadn't had a lot of commercial success. Number 7, we have to kind of throw a bone out to Red Dragon Cartel. The first single off the debut album, the self-titled Red Dragon Cartel album, is a track called Deceived. And there was a video for that one as well. There's a couple of other tracks that I like off the Patino album, but wanted to get that one in there. I think you'll dig it. I think it's a shining moment for Jake. Now, everything else is Ozzy the rest of the way. All right, number 6 on your list is the title track from the Ultimate Sin album, Ultimate Sin. I love this song. I love the percussion on it. I love the way it opens. And I think so many of you will enjoy this one too, if you don't already. From the same album, another single off this album, and probably just a song about having a good time. It's number 5, Lightning Strikes. Lightning Strikes. Number 4, from the Bark at the Moon album, which a lot of people think Randy Rhoads played on and wrote, but he did not. It's a track, a little bit of a deeper track for those of us that were in the album rock back when albums were a thing. It's Rock and Roll Rebel. Rock and Roll Rebel, number 4. There's a line in there, too, where Ozzy says, they say I worship the devil. They must be stupid, all right. I'm just a rock and roll rebel. All right, number 3, the first single off of the Ultimate Sin album had a great video. Dweezil Zappa was in the video. Maybe you've forgotten that. The son of Frank Zappa was a bit of a face man, shall we say. Went to a concert, what the video's about. Julie, of course, the main character. Incredibly attractive young lady. It's a track called Shot in the Dark. That's your number 3 track today. Number 2, song is very important to me, a song that I absolutely love. Jakey Lee said at one point he felt that it was the best song that he had ever constructed or ever composed. It's Killer of Giants. It's in my Twitter bio too. Absolutely love that song. And number 1, how could it be anything else but Bark at the Moon? The title track off the Bark at the Moon album, a song that Ozzy basically kind of procured from Jake. Jake brought that with him. It was something that he had began working on when he was with Rough Cut, and it became an Ozzy track. And if you look at the original liner notes of this album, it's credited to Ozzy, but it is a Jake E. Lee song. And eventually, Jake got his royalties from the track. It took some time. Sharon Osbourne, of course, kind of ruling the roost of the Ozzy Osbourne enterprise. But Bark at the Moon, a great track. If you don't know it, you should. If you like rock music, this is one for you. I think everybody kind of sees it for what it is. It's a great, great song from a great artist and a great guitarist. So we wish Jake the best. Hope that he feels better and makes a full recovery very, very soon. He has not toured as much as of late. It's been about 5 years. Jake dealing with some carpal tunnel syndrome makes it very painful and difficult to play. And now he's dealing with 3 gunshot wounds. And we certainly hope for justice for Jake very, very soon. We're very fortunate that he is still with us. A pretty crazy story as it unfolded on the streets of Vegas yesterday. Just out walking his dog, and somebody pulls up and shoots him. Like to know the rest of that story. Some people said they thought it was just a random act of violence. I hope that that's the case, but that's kind of scary and on its face. I don't know what kind of enemies Jake has. But I just wanted to share that with you all. And again, let's celebrate the music of Jake E. Lee while he is still around with us. And look forward to new material from Red Dragon Cartel in the years and days ahead. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. If you're not familiar with Campus Bookmart, you should be. What are you doing with your life, right? If you're looking for Mississippi State merchandise, look no further than Campus Bookmart. Whether you're looking for the latest in Bulldog apparel, knickknacks, gift ideas, whether it be wedding gifts, housewarming gifts, groom gifts, birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, you can find everything you need for every Bulldog in your life at Campus Bookmart. Go by and see their smiling faces this weekend when you're in town for the game. Pick up some new gear. You'll be glad you did. It's always good to support a Starkville business rather than go into some conglomerate, right? Some big, massive third party that doesn't know what maroon looks like. That's what the chances you're taking when you do that, right? Bulldog fans run Campus Bookmart. They know what the Bulldog family's looking for. If you can't make it to town, visit them on the World Wide Web at campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays. That's BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than 75 bones, absolutely incomplete. Again, that's Campus Bookmart, your one-stop shop for Mississippi State merch. All right, Chris Jans spoke to the SEC Media Collective over in Mountain Brook yesterday, and made mention many times that things are changing offensively, and probably needs to. You know, with we've got some new offensive pieces to work with. And if you're like me, I'm excited about men's basketball. Really, really excited about men's basketball, and you should be as well. I think we had a really good portal class. I think we have a strong nucleus of players returning. And I think that we're a team that's probably not getting our due. You know, you saw another school within our state was ranked in the preseason top 25. Mississippi State was not. And some other people have us picked 10th in the league. I expect Bulldogs to finish in the top half of the league. Do we contend for an SEC championship? Not expecting that. But I think we'll certainly be a tournament team. I think we're going to have a good year. And, Jan's mentioned, got to change some things up, make some adjustments. We're talking about the, kind of what to expect. The comment was, you commented before, you do not like your team from about practice 5 to 20. Do you like them yet? It's an interesting question, right? Because you always have a lot of new faces. And he goes, yeah, that's the problem, is I do like them more than most years right now. My frustration level maybe isn't quite as high. That's good to hear. Because Chris Jans is a guy that's an attention to details guy. He continues, I don't know what that means. I guess we'll have to see, but I do. I like the vibe we've created. I like our locker room. I like the leadership. We just got a good feel right now, and certainly it's a long year, but I like where we're at. That's music to the Bulldog ears right there. We talked about that nucleus kind of coming back. Cam Matthews, obviously a fan favorite, does all the grunt work for us. And, of course, Josh Hubbard, one of the best perimeter shooters in the country. And they asked him a little bit about, what they bring to the table. Old school leadership by players is hard to come by nowadays, and that's true. Big flipping of the roster each year, and Chris is a bit of a master at that. And we have the two guys that you mentioned that are willing and able and capable of opening their mouths and leading like some guys used to back in the day, if you will. And it's a luxury. I feel really good about where both of them are in the leadership department, and hopefully that continues. I don't have any doubt about that, especially with Cam Matthews. This guy that's really been a big part of our resurgence in men's basketball. That's important too. Josh Hubbard, obviously, is the guy that a lot of people want to ask questions about. A lot of people thought he would go in the portal, and good job by our people to kind of get that taken care of. And good on Josh, too. Josh made the comment, we had a chance to meet with him earlier when practice was beginning, that he didn't want you guys to have to sweat that out and be all stressed out and be anxious about that. And the question was, it seems Josh is becoming the face of Mississippi State athletics. What kind of conversations have you had with him about all that comes with that? 0, says Jans. I have full confidence in Josh and his ability to handle everything that is thrown at him. He's an unbelievable human being. He's a better person than he is a basketball player, and that's saying a lot. It is. But I've got great confidence in him, of the decision-making that he'll do. And I've always known that he's going to keep the main thing, which is his game, his career, and his work ethic is just off the chain, to throw back a little bit. So he's the perfect candidate to be able to handle all that he's going through right now. So that's an interesting dynamic too, right? That aspect of it. Josh Hubbard kind of becoming the face of Mississippi State sports. It's an important aspect of things. And how good is that? But yeah, Josh Hubbard's a dude. We know that he's a dude. We're happy to have him as our dude. And I think you could make the case right now that he is the face of Mississippi State athletics, right? I mean, football's not doing great, and probably the team that we're expecting the most from this academic year is men's basketball. I think baseball's going to be really good too, but a lot of new faces. Is it Hunter Hines? Maybe Hunter Hines, Josh Hubbard. You could make the case for either one of them, but the reality of it is Josh Hubbard last year one of the best players in the country, not just the conference, in the country, and we expect even bigger things from him this year. So. That's your men's update. And Sam Purcell met today. They do the men one day, women the next. And Sam Purcell met with the media today. And give you a few little comments on what Sam had to say. Now, I'm not sure what to make of this team. I know we're doing well on the recruiting trail right now, but I'm not exactly sure what to make. He asked about was asked about how do you replace Jessica Carter. Sam says, I'm happy for her to get drafted in the WNBA. Obviously, there will be a lot of opportunities because Jessica played 30 minutes a game, which is unheard of for a center. You've got Quinare Montague, which was one of the top 50 recruits in the country out of high school. She's waited her turn, played behind Jessica, and is ready to seize her moment. And we certainly hope so. We were lucky to get Kayla Thomas in the transfer portal. I think she's a young lady who will shock some people. She's one of the last COVID-19 players as she started her career at Penn State. She's been phenomenal for what we're trying to do. Also got a sleeper, Medina Akat from Kenya. This young lady is special, and I'll share a little story with you. She arrived this fall, and all summer we had kids practicing for conditioning tests that usually takes 3 months to pass, but she arrived right before classes. She told me she wanted to take the conditioning test, which she passed in 2 days. So she's special. She has a motor for days. And most importantly, enjoys being at Mississippi State. So between those three, along with DeBrisha Poe, which is a stretch 4, I'm excited to have 2 in and 2 out and have rotation to avoid foul trouble and have plenty of bodies to throw out there no matter what the opponent throws at us. And how many times last year? We deal with that. If Jessica got in trouble, we kind of went as she went. When she was on the floor, we did well. When she wasn't, not so well. One final comment, too, about Victoria Vivians returning to Mississippi State and being part of the coaching staff. And Sam says, yeah, it's everything. First of all, I think I'm a good recruiter, and I'm no dummy. But first of all, she's the queen. And I only know 2 queens, Beyonce and Victoria. I was lucky to land her on my staff, but also in this business, it's more than just winning games. It's about impacting lives, and Victoria does that. I think about the lens of my young women who have a lot of aspirations and dreams to play at the next level. You currently have a staff member in the league who has excellent resources and connections to motivate and talk to them. Most importantly, as I shared when I got the job 3 years ago, division's real. This program was in the NAFL championship not too long ago. She was on that team, so when we're getting in the practice gym, fighting, competing, she has a certain voice about her because she believes in that vision. She's lived it. And we talk about maximizing your education. She's graduated, and like I said, dreams after Mississippi State. She's currently living that, and I couldn't be happier to have her on staff. As much as she's bringing us, I'm excited to be a mentor for her like so many others were for me who gave me an opportunity and a platform. So further down the line, there is no doubt she'll have what it takes. We're making sure we're pouring into her so she's ready to seize an opportunity to be a head coach. Is Victoria Vivians our future women's head coach? Got to get some seasoning, obviously, right? It's one thing to be a player and to kind of execute a play. It's another situation to kind of design a play and kind of situationally know what's happening with all of that. And so, you bring her in to where she's beloved and begin to kind of think about that. Down the road, And maybe she has to leave to come back. But I cannot begin to overstate how important it is to have Victoria here. And I agree with Sam, too. It's about the vision. Victoria Vivians understands what can be accomplished at Mississippi State. She had the opportunity to go anywhere in the country and chose to stay home and play at Mississippi State. And then she played in 2 national championship games and was part of the biggest win probably in the history of the NCAA women's tournament when Mississippi State beat UConn. Very, very impressive. But when you have somebody, too, that understands what it takes and understands where it can be done, that person's voice carries a lot of weight in the locker room. It's one thing to say, hey, because a lot of people go out there and talk about, hey, we want to compete for championships. But it's lip service. Because a lot of people say that and have never done it. Victoria Vivians has done it. She has won SEC championships. She has won Final Four ball games. She has competed for national titles. And so, do I need a path paver? I'm following her. I'm not going to go out there and really attach my wagon to somebody out there that has never done it. They've never competed at that high a level. They don't know what it takes. The biggest variance in all of sports is between first and second place. It's not last place and eighth place, right? Because champions do what also-rans won't. Not to say there are not great teams out there. But when the game, the season, and the title is on the line, you need to understand there's a reservoir that exists that you have to pull from that a lot of student athletes and coaches do not possess. That's so incredibly important to understand that. Once you've done it, you can tell somebody else how to do it. It's a sojourner's truth. I equate so much of that to you think about your own lives, right? I mean, how many times in life did you have to be uncomfortable? And so much of that, too, is like I'm a firm believer in the old adage that, your new life will cost you your old life. If you want something more than you've always had, you've got to give an effort that you've never given before. And how many times have we been through that in life? It's like it's not worth the trouble, and that's what you ask yourself. Do I get enough juice for the squeeze by attempting to do this? And there's a lot of people that have ambition. They just don't have the drive to get things done. That's an important aspect of this. You've got to have the talent. You've got to have the work ethic. But more importantly, you've got to have the expertise. You've got to have experience. And that's what Victoria Vivians brings to the table. And, of course, we'll be playing basketball very, very soon. We'll really look forward to that. And we hope to see you out at Humphrey Coliseum every opportunity you can get here. Maybe you've seen that men's basketball season tickets are nearly sold out. That should say something about the enthusiasm around this program. And so, again, when I saw that we're picked 10th in the league, I think to myself, some people hadn't done their homework. I don't know that they know Mississippi State well, and certainly not Chris Jans well. And listen, I get it. We've been to the tournament back-to-back years and haven't won a game. I expect to win a couple this year. I think we have a lineup capable of doing that. I think you guys do as well. So we're going to encourage you come out and be a part of this because you could see some very historic things this year. At the Humphrey Coliseum on the men's and the women's side. But I'm a little more bullish on the men's side right now, and a lot of it's just kind of the unknown on the women's side. But I do believe Sam Purcell is a good coach. I believe Sam Purcell will get the most out of this roster. Obviously, we were a little disappointed down the stretch last year, and a lot of that's just because we were just so incredibly fatigued. We lost some of our depth, and having more pieces to work with this year should probably have us playing at a high level later in the year. Got a little more gas in the tank this year because we have a few more pieces to work with. But, the men's team, there's a solid nucleus returning that you guys know well, the SEC knows well, but more importantly, they know the SEC well. And, if you can win in the Southeastern Conference, you can win in the NCAA tournament. That's an important aspect of every bit of this. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Stark Vegas Clubhouse, the best place to stay in the Golden Triangle when you're coming to our fair part of the state. Whether it's a ball game weekend, a work trip, could be a couples weekend, Could be a college reunion weekend, but here's the thing too, you can stay midweek too. I encourage people to, rather than waste your time and money with 5 hotel rooms, use the 5 bedrooms and 2 baths that are available to you at the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Just 5 minutes away from the Mississippi State campus, neatly and quietly tucked away, just off of 182. And it's well off the road, too, so you're not going to be hearing a lot of rambunctiousness out there. You only got one neighbor. We encourage you to respect them, but also understand, too, that if you're looking to kind of get away, you can get away right here in your favorite city, Starkville, Mississippi. Got that great full-service kitchen, the wet bar, great living area, the back porch area, probably not a cooler place, just kind of lay out and hang out, enjoy an adult beverage and a great conversation, and enjoy this wonderful weather we're having these days. And if it gets a little cool for you, just mosey on over to the fire pit and fire that bad boy up and sit around there. There's such great about having a fire. It's just a wonderful experience. And so when you Google Stark Vegas Clubhouse, their Facebook page will come up and you can peruse the pictures of all the amenities that are available to you and your guests. But also, too, some booking options will appear as well. You're going to have Airbnb, VRBO. You can go that route if you choose. But if you want to save some money, book through the Evolve website at promo code BSR10. BSR10, the number 10, gets you 10% off your stay. How cool is that? BSR10 to stay at the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. When you're looking to bring a family group and have a big time here in Starkville, and maybe you think, hey, it's a little crowded around here too. Maybe mom and dad have downsized since the kids have left the house and become empty nesters. Why not maybe spend Christmas at the Stark Vegas Clubhouse? How cool would that be? Maybe I hadn't even thought about that. Think about the holidays too. It's not just a game day retreat. It's available to you all year long. The Stark Vegas Clubhouse, the best place to stay in the Golden Triangle. All right, we will be back on the baseball field this weekend, too. So if you're coming to town, a lot going on. You got the Junction Jam Friday evening. And, of course, you got a baseball scrimmage. We're going to be Friday, Sunday, Monday for baseball scrimmages. Those are usually around 3 to 3:30. I'm not exactly sure what they do on Friday just yet. Be watching the official Health State account as they'll tweet out that. So just be apprised of that. If you can make a full weekend of it this weekend, right? You can come, enjoy the baseball scrimmage, go to Junction Jam, enjoy the ball game against Texas A&M Saturday afternoon, have a baseball scrimmage on Sunday, and maybe you've got some vacation days. Maybe you consider staying over, making it a 3-day weekend here in Starkville. So it's not Super Bulldog weekend, but it kind of feels that way. A lot going on. Your first look at your men's and women's basketball teams, and of course, for many of you, your first look at your baseball team. You may have seen too. Our friends at D1 Baseball, Kendall Rogers, Aaron Fitt, they ranked the top programs in the country over the last 5 years, not all time, but in the last 5 years. And Mississippi State comes in at 8. And that kind of flies in the face of what even some of our own fans think. But the reality of it is we are still very much a respected program around the country. And Aaron Fitt makes a good comment about Charlie Foster, a guy we've talked about extensively on the show. It's a guy that's got weekend starter written all over him, and that could happen this year. I think he could be a Sunday starter. We'll see how things progress with him. But Charlie's a dude. He is. And that's the fun about coming to these scrimmages. You may need a scout or a media member to kind of identify a player for you, but you've got some good players. Our roster's in good shape. Now, the big question is we don't have the defined starting roles. We didn't have them last year outside of Durangelo. We hoped Nate would potentially be a starter, but this time last year we were thinking perhaps he's the fireman, right? The first guy to the bullpen, whether he's a closer or a long reliever. We hoped Cal Steven obviously would be a weekend starter. We went out and signed him for that purpose after Luke Holman elected to go to LSU. We pivoted and got Cal Steven, and then ironically, Cal Steven had the better year, had more postseason accolades, and got drafted ahead of Luke Holman. And again, I think that's kind of the majesty of the Justin Parker experience. And as I've said on the show before, this team offensively and defensively expected to be very good. And we really thought offensively we were going to be elite last year. But I'll tell you, this group right now is ahead of where that group was last year. Around this time last year, I told you guys, hey, I'm kind of cautiously optimistic. And And then now I've kind of transitioned to just being optimistic. Well, I'll tell you this. I started to fall optimistic, and I'm very positive about this team. It's not even about being optimistic and thinking, hey, we got a chance to be in a road regional somewhere, which we were. This is a team that's capable of getting to Omaha. This is a team that's certainly capable of hosting a regional. And the difference between hosting a regional and getting to Omaha is going to be our pitching. And of all the people on our campus right now that work in athletics, who do you trust the most? Honestly. And listen, I know we got a lot of basketball fans that listen to the show and say, I love Chris Jans. I do too. Chris Jans hadn't won an NCAA tournament game yet. Okay? So we trust him. Do we trust him as much as we do Justin Parker? I would say no. When you look at the job Justin Parker did last year with basically the same guys, right? I mean, obviously you add Cal Steven in the mix there, but you had a bunch of guys that were improving by leaps and bounds last year that are now in pro baseball. Guys, we set a program record for pitchers drafted in a single draft last year, and some of those guys, you wanted them to get in the portal. You guys didn't think Tyler Davis or Tyson Harden were going to be what they were. And these are guys that just simply hadn't been able to get it done, right? We liked them, thought they were great kids, but they hadn't proven to be elite. And then last year, how many times do we have Tyson Harden or Tyler Davis come in there and just shut somebody down for us? There are going to be some names like that this year, except you're not going to have the negative connotation attached to their name. You're going to have some other guys that are going to come in that already have some confidence. And Tyler Davis has always been a confident guy. But Tyson Harden was kind of broken, to be honest with you. And Justin Parker revitalized his career, and he's in pro baseball now. And so if this thing boils down to what Justin Parker can do with our pitching, based on what you saw him do at South Carolina, based on what you saw him do last year at Mississippi State, people forget his last year at South Carolina, they had the second lowest ERA in the conference behind Florida, behind Sully, who was considered by many to be one of the best pitching coaches in the country. And so if it's boiling down, if we got to put all of our eggs in the basket of one Justin Parker, I feel really good about our opportunities. And you should too. Let's talk some football recruiting before we get out of here. We've had some decommitments. On Monday, Cavante Koa Henry decommitted and flipped to Alabama. And then Steve Miller, a guy that we've been told for weeks was fine and was wanting to stay in the South and that USC was just a trip to go do something. Now he's flipped to USC. And the truth of the matter is the bigger loss is obviously Koa. There's no question about it. Koa's the big, because he makes you a better team next year. I think Steve Miller is going to be a really good player. But Steve doesn't make you better next year. Now, we got to have some guys in a developmental pipeline. But we also got to go out and get some guys that can play. And there's some other names out there that are somewhat familiar to you and some names that maybe aren't familiar to you that are going to be on campus this weekend. We discussed some of this stuff. If you are a Gene's paid subscriber, you have already read about some of this stuff. And I'm just going to give you a little more insight here today. Of course, they're going to get it first, always. You should be a Gene's paid subscriber. More times than not, you're going to get it before any Bulldog fan out there. Not much question about that, But if I can find it here, there's always things, I'm looking through this. Message boards have been active. But you remember the name Kyle Johnson from Bunkie, Louisiana? Yeah, it's not too far from Alexandria, up Interstate 49. Cool little place. It's a little bit south of Alexandria, if I remember correctly, north of Ville Platte, south of Alexandria. And so Kyle Johnson, we thought, was going to pick Mississippi State over Houston. Now, he was leaning to Houston when he took the visit to Mississippi State, and we were not able to turn him. We thought we were close. Didn't work out that way. Very disappointing. Well, Kyle Johnson has been in contact with your coaches, for the last couple months. And Kyle Johnson and his family are going to come up and take an unofficial game day visit to Mississippi State this weekend. And so I think it's good recruiting, right? You have the Steve Miller defection on Monday. You've got a potential replacement, a guy that you already wanted coming in this weekend. It's not like Kyle Johnson was a plan B for us. We would have certainly taken him. That's one of the reasons we brought him in for a June visit. And the good thing is, because he's already taken his visit, we don't have to allocate another visit because we need to save as many of those as we can for portal players. Because when it comes to these defensive linemen, sometimes you got to recruit 3 to get 1. It's how things work. Now, we are going to have a couple of official visitors this weekend. And you can read about them over at genespage.com too. We've got an interview that will go up here shortly with Joseph. Get Joseph. It's Joseph. He probably pronounces Joseph, right? But it's Joseph Skipworth. Now, he's currently committed to Kansas out of Florida. And obviously, this is a guy that's like, hey, I don't see anything wrong with taking a trip. I want to see what my options are. And I think he also has seen how Mississippi State has utilized the tight end position. You see what Seydoux is doing. You see what the Ball brothers are doing a little bit. We're gonna use our tight ends. They're not just out there to be an additional blocker. And so he's going to take an official visit to Mississippi State this weekend, and we'll have reaction from his visit on Sunday. Hope to. But we'll have a story going up later today, kind of previewing his visit to Starkville. Again, we talk about, hey, we've had some guys flip, and one of the questions people always ask, are we trying to flip anybody? Well, yes, we are. Yes, we are, and there's a good candidate. In addition to that, Caleb Bell, another guy that had stayed as a finalist and ultimately picked Arkansas. Got a Milton High School over in Georgia. And so Caleb, another guy too, you begin to say, okay, well, look, we got to make sure this is the real deal, right? We can't be in a situation where we're wasting an official visit. Caleb Bell is a guy that sees our opportunity. He sees that we have a chance for him to come in and play early, and play for David Turner. And listen, DT needs a good class. We all kind of see it for what it is. But those guys are going to both officially visit. We hope to have reaction on Sunday. Also this week, we've offered junior college defensive lineman Perry Cole. They call him Diesel. And he's a guy that we mentioned on Gene's page a couple of weeks ago. As, hey, this is a name to watch because in the open date, David Turner went out to the Kansas JUCO ranks and went out to Texas. And then lo and behold, all of a sudden, Perry Cole has an opportunity to play at Mississippi State. We haven't set up a visit yet, but we expect to. Him and Tylen Coleman both. We'll get out and see Tylen again soon. And their open date in the MAC kind of worked alongside the same time ours did, and so they were off when we were off. So wasn't great, but we've got some options out there. Now, do we have anybody as good as Koa? No, we don't. I mean, Xavier Hardy, I think, is going to be very good too. Koa Henry is a difference maker. And here's the sad reality of things, and I'm not a poor-mouthed guy, as you guys know. But even in the best of times, we're going to have a very difficult time beating Alabama on an out-of-state defensive player. That's just the reality of it. And when you've got a guy, granted, we got him in on Coy because he was at Oklahoma when Levy was there. So you have the pre-existing relationship. But this is not a commitment that we have felt confident about even since he offered it. Because of the fact, as soon as he accepted the commitment from Mississippi State or offered his commitment to State, he visited Oregon State. He's continued to take trips. Guys that are excited about their opportunities and locked in with a school don't continue to take a bunch of visits. It's one thing to take a visit, just for the experience. But the reality of that is, too, they're taking visits to see if there are other options out there, to see if there are better options out there in their mind. I mean, like Steve Miller, all fired up, family was good to go. Everybody said, hey, we like the opportunity to play in the Southeastern Conference to stay close to home. And now he's going to California. And he tells us, well, I'd love to live in Los Angeles. I think LA's a great place to visit, but I don't know that I'd want to live there. And again, this is coming from a guy that grew up in small-town Mississippi. But, I've lived in Baton Rouge, and, of course, that's not L.A. I've visited L.A., and I can tell you, I mean, you get out and go to dinner sometimes, and it's a 2-hour proposition just to get there and back. I mean, it's really a commitment of your time. Of course, everything right around campus is a little bit different. College life's a little bit different, but you don't go to L.A. just to do the same things you would do in Starkville. I mean, you go to L.A. to get out and go to the Forum and go see the Lakers play and all that kind of crazy stuff, and you're going to have some NIL money to do that. And so it's a different experience. It's difficult for us to compete in those situations where players value those things over what we offer. And Starkville's not for everybody. It's not. And there are a lot of people out there that talk poorly of our town. I love it here. And I've had 3 children attend Mississippi State. They've had amazing experiences here. And, we talk about amazing experiences. We're bringing the 2014 team back. That was an incredible part of our recruiting efforts for, what ultimately became, the biggest classes that we've ever had for enrollment at Mississippi State. So we'll bring those guys back and we'll have a good time, But the reality of it is that, yes, we are still playing offense on the recruiting trail. I do think the bulk of this class that's remaining will be from the portal ranks. There will be 1 or 2 baby JUCO guys that join the class. And, of course, as Steve Miller moves on, I really thought, for the most part, that we were done with high school players. But now that Steve's moved on, you probably need to replace him with a high school guy, right? You can't just get so portal crazy because we're not going to have the resources, and really nor does most programs, to just go out and buy a roster every year. You can't just do a rent-a-roster approach to this. You got to be able to go out there and get some guys and allow them to develop and use the portal or maybe supplement where guys didn't develop or perhaps guys transfer out. I got a lot of comments, too, about the closing segment of the Monday show. 99% of them were very positive. There were a couple negative, and I've learned to focus on the positive. But one of the things that I would want to share about that, kind of as a parting comment here, is, if I think about our theme song, and maybe you guys are familiar with that. Some of you, you know it, but you don't know it. Right, you know, Hail Dear Old State. Maybe you've heard people say that, but maybe you haven't taken the time to to kind of look at this thing and kind of break it down. And it's interesting, right? It says, "Hail Dear Old State, fight for that victory today. Hit that line and tote that ball. Cross the goal before you fall. And then we'll yell, 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 yell. For dear old state, we'll yell like H-E-L-L. Fight for Mississippi State. Win the game today." Now, one of the things that I would point out to you here is fight comes before winning twice in our song. Fight for that victory today and fight for Mississippi State. We are in a fight right now. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's going to get better this year. I hope that it does, and I'm optimistic that we're trending in the right direction, and I still believe in Jeff Lebby and this entire group. I do. But we need a lot more fight for Mississippi State quality fans. A bunch more. We don't just need casual viewers. We'll take those and hope that they transition into, but, we got a lot of win the game today people. We need a lot more fight for Mississippi State people. Because the fight comes before the victory, not just during the victory. And that's not just in a ball game or on a field of play. It's a 365-day proposition. Many of you are so incredibly enamored with Mississippi State. You subscribe to Gene's page. You follow all the Mississippi State media accounts on social media. You listen to the Mississippi State podcast. You got mine. You got Brian. You got Charlie. Bart, Robbie. You listen to those because you love Mississippi State. But let's not just be consumers, let's be contributors. And I don't just mean financially. Our football program is in a bit of a crisis right now, and we have been under a dark cloud for a while, and it really felt like when Jeff Lebby showed up that maybe the clouds were kind of rolling away a little bit, and I still believe they are. I think it's been somewhat arrested. Blake Shapen getting injured has set us back. Now, Michael Van Buren, I think, is a better athlete. Not that Blake Shapen's some kind of statue back there. He's shown that he could go run the football when needed to, But my point is we can't just expect the coaches and student athletes to do all the fighting. We got to do some fighting right along with them, and that means coming to ball games. That's ringing the cowbell. That's buying Mississippi State merchandise. It's giving the NIL if you can afford to give. It's being positive on social media. It's being an encourager. And there are a lot of people out there that get their feelings hurt because they're like, hey, I've made an emotional investment. I did not get the return on that investment, and now I'm angry. And they don't always know how to express that frustration. But I'm going to encourage you, and most of you are already in the fight, but I'm going to encourage the rest of you, let's join the fight. And it's not just about, I love this whole phrase, accepting mediocrity, because traditionally the people that use it accept mediocrity in their daily lives and relationships and everything else at every turn. It's like we just want to kind of deflect. Well, I'm not willing to accept mediocrity from Mississippi State, but I'll accept it from me. I'll accept it from the people that work for me. I'll accept it in every walk of life. Let's have some consistency, right? If you're not going to accept mediocrity from Mississippi State, let's stop accepting mediocrity from you and from ourselves. One of the reasons that I make all these trips, number one, it's my responsibility. It'd be easy to stay home and do a poor job, right? That's true. It may hurt some feelings, but it's true. And you learn a lot when you go to ball games. You learn a lot that helps your reporting. But again, it's part of the fight. Am I just gonna? I remember back in I guess it was 2016 when Ole Miss began to kind of have their troubles, when everything began to kind of bubble up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And some of their media stopped going to road games. And remember, Shea Patterson started that game against A&M. They won the game, and the Ledger ran this ridiculous full-page story, "A Star is Born," and it looks so foolish in hindsight. But the media kind of quit going. It was like, hey, I was happy to go to LSU, when Bo Wallace and those guys were, ranked in the top 10. We were happy to go then, but did you go last weekend? No. It's easier not to be great. And so my challenge to you is let's not use standards of Mississippi State that we don't use for ourselves. Let's all increase that. Let's all be part of the fight for Mississippi State in every aspect that we can possibly get. And let's fight less among ourselves, and let's all pull in the same direction. That's the biggest part of this. We have to pull in the same direction. When I look at fan bases out there that I'm envious of, that's what they do. Like Arkansas. I give them Arkansas. That's a great fan base. It is. It's a great fan base. Every fan base has got a few knuckleheads out there. It's true. Some more than others. I think about what LSU has, and they got a ton of knuckleheads in the LSU fan base. But man, those people love that university. And if you speak poorly of LSU, they're ready to fight you over it. And I'm not saying we come to blows with anybody, but the reality of it is I wish we had more of that belief within ourselves. Because if you don't think that the team feeds off the fan base, they do. They do. It's a relationship, and it's one that we need to hold precious to us. So I encourage you, let's all fight for Mississippi State. Until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.